and friendly generator service company, msenergy.us. msenergy.us.
He went away for a while, and now he's back. A heat advisory is once again in effect for today for this part of central Mississippi. The actual high is 98 degrees, and the heat index could be as high as 107. Tonight, the low is 77, and it's mostly clear. Another really hot day Thursday. You've got a high at 99 degrees and a heat index again up near 108. With news on 103.9 WYAB, I'm Chris Davis. Former interim Hinds County Sheriff Marshawn Chrysler is now out of prison. He still has some obligations to the feds, but those are being met on home turf. Chrysler was sentenced to 30 months in the federal lockup back in 2024 after being found guilty of accepting bribes and providing favors. No bail for Tatiana Johnson, who was charged with killing a man named Philip Thames back in February. Johnson and a man that police believe was her partner, Kadarius Towers, are both charged with capital murder and being felons with guns. Police believe Thames was bushwhacked outside of his gated neighborhood. The hope by some members of the Jackson City Council is that by having Thalia Hall named a Mississippi landmark and being put on the National Register of Historic Places, that'll bring in more money for repairs and renovations to the building. The City Council voted to do that with a majority vote Tuesday. Money could be potentially coming from both state and federal sources. A man and a woman arrested in Pearl River County after a chase that lasted 22 miles are suspected of having had meth in the car. The Sheriff's Department in Pearl River County says they found traces of meth in baggies and arrested 38-year-old Justin Sims of Foxworth and 28-year-old Sharaman Jefferson. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis.
So when are you going to check that thing off your to-do list?
Right, that. I don't know. How about next week?
How about now?
Or I could do it later, right?
No more putting it off. Do it now so you don't forget. You want this and have for a while.
You're right. I want this.
You deserve this. And it can help you in the long run. There. I just logged on to homescc.edu. We're getting you registered right now.
Wait. Hold up. I thought you had to show up on site to register at Homes.
You can do either one. You know that career you talk about all the time? The life you dream about? It starts today. Does that famous quote go?
Don't. Please don't.
The secret to getting ahead is...
Getting started.
Fall classes start August 17th. Register at a campus near you Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 3:30, or right now at homescc.edu. And remember, your tuition could be free with a 20 on your ACT.
Holmes Community College.
No place like Homes.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are the individual views and opinions of the people expressing them and do not necessarily reflect those of this radio station, its parent, affiliated, or related entities, agents, or employees.
If it feels like the world's gone a little crazy lately, you're not wrong. They say parents should have a voice. But what happens when no one's listening? Forget the noise, the narratives, and the nonsense. It's time to have real conversations, stand up, speak out, and shine a light on what's really happening inside our schools, our systems, and our government, and what it really means for your family. This is the Lindsey Beckham Show, where we believe in truth over talking points, facts over feelings, and the courage to say what others won't. Because when it comes to our kids, silence is not an option.
Only in America, dreaming.
Welcome into the Lindsey Beckham Show. Happy Wednesday, everyone. We're live here in the WYAB studios. We are also streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And I have a very special guest with me today. I'm super excited to have her here. Her name is Tonya. Tonya, the way I start my show every day is I read a quote from one of our founding fathers. So I have a book called Live in Liberty Daily. And at Moms for Liberty, we start all of our meetings with a Madison Minute or a quote from one of our founders that resonates with us, that means something to us. And so I started doing it on the show. I thought, what a great way to open the show. Take a little nugget from one of our founders and put it out there for the world, because so many times I don't think we really remember what their vision was for America. And so today's quote is from Patrick Henry, and this is from his speech at the Second Virginia Convention at St. John's Church, March 20th, 1775. And he said this: "It is natural to man to indulge in the illusions of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against a painful truth and listen to the song of that siren till she transforms us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in a great struggle for liberty? Are we disposed to be of the number of those who, having eyes, see not, and having ears, hear not the things which so nearly concern their salvation? For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and to provide for it." And I think that resonates in our world today. I know I actively try to engage parents and educate on certain issues that maybe we don't want to know about. We don't want to acknowledge that certain things are happening, but we need to, so that we are able to protect our children and protect this country, the freedoms of this country. But today we have Tonya Shellnutt, and she's with Alliance Defending Freedom. Now, Alliance Defending Freedom, I've worked with them alongside Moms for Liberty, alongside the Mississippi Advocacy Group, and Leslie Davis with our Republican Party, getting things done here in the state of Mississippi. And she's over in South Carolina.
Yes.
And she also has her own personal journey that I want to hear about as well. Tonya, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this. Girl talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm the only girl, the local host that's a female on the radio station. So this is the hour everybody gets the girl talk.
All right, let's do it. Let's bring some fireworks to it.
Well, first of all, tell me how you got here. How did you become engaged and involved in advocacy and fighting for these issues, which you've done very successfully, by the way?
Well, thank you. So I am the Senior State Government Relations Director for ADF. So I oversee all of ADF's state government relations. We have a small team, but we cover 22 states currently. And, you know, if you would have asked me 15 years ago if I would even be doing this work, I would have told you were crazy. Like, I hated politics. No way, that's not going to happen. Never, ever in a million years did I ever see this on my radar, ever. But, you know, I had a really rough childhood. My birth father left when I was 6 months old. My adoptive dad was an alcoholic, and just a lot of bad things happened. And so I have that justice warrior spirit in me. And, you know, I had written a book about the harms of extreme feminism and how it's so hurtful to the family. And I had come across a website that was carrying my book, and it was an organization called Concerned Women for America. They're the only group in the whole country that like men, women's group that like men. And so they had sent me an invitation to one of their rallies. And I was like, well, I've never been to a rally before. Okay, they're coming all the way. I was in Billings, Montana at the time. And I'm like, they're coming all the way from DC to Billings, Montana. Like, I should probably go see these people that are carrying my book. And so I get there and I get out of my vehicle and I see all these people holding these signs. I'm like, oh, there they are. And I start walking over to them and I'm like, oh no, those are not my people. I'm reading the signs and it's like, kill the baby, you know, totally anti-life. And about that time, the bus comes in. It was a She Votes bus tour. And Penny Nance got off and I just watched her pray for these protesters that were screaming at her. And like, she gave them water. And I was like, what is this? And so that was literally my first introduction to the world of politics. And so God just has brought me on a journey since then. I was the state director for Concerned Women for America in Montana. I ran a Senate campaign in Montana. I won my primary, but lost my general. I was the state director down in South Carolina. And then I came to ADF 9 years ago. And so I've been with ADF 9 years this month, and it's just been in a journey. You know, when you're passionate about protecting the most vulnerable, you're passionate about protecting families, religious liberty. I'm just so blessed by able to work for Alliance Defending Freedom and the work that I get to do day in and day out. It truly is a gift, and it's a ministry to me.
I love that, Tonya. I truly love that, because I think that we are meant to share our stories and our hardships, because you never know whose life you might save, or who you might touch, or who you might pull out of this realm of darkness that they seem to be surrounded by, and they just need a little hope.
Absolutely.
And you're sharing like the hard times, and I was looking at your website earlier, and it's TonyaShellnutt.com.
Yeah.
Shellnutt is 2 L's and 2 T's.
Correct. Good job.
Leaving off the last T. Now I know. But I was looking at your website, and I love the fact that you focus so much on not playing the victim.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
even in my story, I remember times when, after I lost my husband when I was pregnant with twins, and very unexpectedly, and I remember times when I would think to myself, nobody understands what this is like. Nobody goes through this. And that the enemy was in my ear telling me those things, warning me to stay in this world of victimhood.
Yes.
And you can't ever succeed or accomplish anything as long as that's your mentality.
Absolutely. It's something I'm so passionate about, because we live in a culture that fosters victimhood, right? And, I think I'm not excusing people's hardships. I'm not, I was sexually abused when I was 5 years old. I was involved in a physically violent relationship. I have a scar left on my face from it. So domestic violence. And, at the end of the day, my husband said to me, we've been married 31 years, but when I was in the middle of all of this, he said to me, Tonya, are you, and he didn't say it quite like this, but this is how I heard it. He's like, are you going to continue to live hell here on earth, always questioning God, why? Or are you going to embrace what has happened to you and use it for good? And that was a pivotal moment for me. Because, what was I gaining out of being so angry at everybody and at God for what happened to me? It wasn't helping me in any way, shape, or form. And so I really took what he said to heart, and along with the Lord working in my heart and providing some forgiveness and some things, really decided, okay, look, this is, I'm the person in this story, but this is ultimately God's story. God has to use this situation for good to help people. And that's what I'm very passionate about. I'm very passionate about helping people to know that you don't have to be a victim of your circumstances. God always gives us an out, always. And what do we do with it? I have my oldest daughter is hearing impaired, and my youngest daughter had a seizure disorder growing up, and my oldest son had a lisp. And I always taught my kids, look, you're not defined by your handicap. Your hearing impairment, that doesn't define what you get to accomplish. And my oldest daughter went on to play college basketball and softball, and now has a very successful career, because we didn't let that hearing impairment, because she's completely deaf in one ear, define her worth. The daughter with the seizure disorder, she was in special ed. She was having thousands and thousands of seizures. We didn't let that define her. And she went on eventually to graduate out of special ed and she's just very, very, very intelligent. And so even like with women that I mentor and work with, you don't have to be defined by those wounds that happen to you. That doesn't mean ignore them. You absolutely acknowledge the pain and the hurt that you went through. But what do you do with it matters. Because look, I lost my mom at a very early age in life. I was 23, very suddenly, in a motorcycle accident. And I don't get to do any redos, Lindsey. I don't get a redo. So is my life going to be defined by bitterness and anger and hatred? And that's the legacy I'm leaving my kids? Or are my kids going to see that I'm an overcomer and that God has a bigger plan for the pain? And I think that's, when I die, I don't want people to think, oh, all she did was whine and complain by what happened to her. I want people to see that you can overcome adversity.
Absolutely. And, I know that Romans 8:28 is so special to you, that God uses all things for good for those that love him. And a few verses that I have really relied on is beauty from ashes.
Mm-hmm.
So we take our
Amen.
circumstances and God uses those hard times. I remember shortly after losing my husband, my preacher at the time, he doesn't live here currently, unfortunately, anymore, even though he probably feels like he does, as much as I text him asking him questions and needing prayer for certain situations. But he sent me James 1:2, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. And at that point in time, I was so angry and I wanted to scream at him and say, how can you tell me to consider this?
Mhm.
But looking back at it now, that has been the verse I've held on to
Yes.
over the last decade, because I know that when I do go through trials and hard times, it's increasing my perseverance so that I can do more for him.
Absolutely. 100%. It's those trials and the tribulations that mold us if we allow it. Now, that doesn't mean that we go through it and we're like, oh, this is so great. But we at least are open to learning from it, right? Like, you were mad when he sent you that because you're like, are you kidding me? Like, do you know what just happened to me? I'm not going to consider it pure joy. And I think God understands that about us, right? Like, when we're in the thick of it, we're not like, oh yeah, this was the best thing ever. You know, I wish I could sit here and say that I still don't sometimes say, like, Lord, why would you let this happen to me? Like, that to me is just, I don't understand it. And that goes back to Isaiah 55:8-9, right? Where God says, my ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. So there's just like some things we can never comprehend. But again, it goes back to, okay, we don't understand it. You know, Job, though he slay me, I'll still trust in you. Like, what are we going to do with it? And that has truly just been what I feel like the Lord said to me is like, okay, you know what? I'm preparing you for the resiliency and the perseverance that's required to work in politics and policy, because it's brutal, as you know.
Yes, it absolutely is. And that's a perfect point right here to take a break, because when we get back, I want to talk about you getting started into that world and all the things that you've been able to accomplish. I know there's a laundry list, but it's a brutal, ugly world. But somebody's got to do it, right? Somebody's got to stand up for what's right so that we have the freedoms and that we're able to protect the unborn and the innocent. So y'all stay with us. We are going to take a quick break and we're going to be right back here. This is the Lindsey Beckham Show. We're joined by Tonya Shellnutt, and we'll be right back here, 1039 WYAB. On WYAB.
Keep it tuned here to 1039 WYAB.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit americansforprosperity.org. Be a part of positive change at americansforprosperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
When it comes to protecting all the things that matter in your world, generations of folks in central Mississippi have trusted Allstate agent Mark Dwyron. Mark knows the right coverage with the right price, helps you feel secure and protected. For decades, Mark's been a trusted agent protecting you against mayhem that is unpredictable, and he's always just a moment away when you need him. Mark Dwyron. For auto, home, life, and more, you're in good hands with Allstate. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability.
You wake up tired. You drag through the day. The drive's gone. The focus is gone. And somewhere along the way, you stopped feeling like yourself. At Live Better Men's Health and Wellness in Gluckstadt, they help men take control again with personalized testosterone therapy, wellness treatments, and real answers. Fast lab work, real medical professionals, no judgment. Stop settling for fine. Start living better. Live Better Men's Health. Online at livebettermen.com.
Hi, this is Rita Jensen with Remax Connection, and I want to tell you, I've lived in Florida for over 50 years. I'm a graduate of Tri-County Academy, went there the first day the doors opened. If you're thinking about putting your children into Tri-County Academy and need a place to live, then give me a call. Without a doubt, the Florida expert when it comes to real estate. So if you need a place to live, give me a call. Rita Jensen, Remax Connection. 601-720-4037 or go to my website, ritajensen.net.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Hot weather requires us to run the AC nonstop. Pure Air Consultants can inspect your unit today to ensure your AC is operating at peak performance. Pure Air Consultants is your go-to Rheem partner that can get the job done and have you resting in comfort in no time. Locally owned and operated, they have proudly served our community for over 22 years. Contact Pure Air Consultants today at mypureairconsultants.com. Rheem and Pure Air Consultants to the rescue.
Health has always been reactive, focused on fixing problems as they happen. But with Blue Primary Care, we're taking a proactive approach, working with you to help you understand your health and empowering you to be healthy. It's time to prioritize you, your health, and your life. The results? Less worrying and more living. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue.
Who said you can have too much of a good thing? Not at Mazzo Jackson. With rates as low as 0% with approved credit. Come test drive the all-new, fully redesigned 2026 Mazda CX-5. That's more room for you and your cargo, making the third-generation CX-5 the best yet. Mazda's best-selling SUV also comes with 1-year maintenance included on your new vehicle purchase. Mazda Jackson still specializes in certified pre-owned vehicles with hassle-free trade-in options available. Shop online at MazdaJackson.com or visit Mazda Jackson, I-55 Frontage Road.
From Mississippi, where faith, family, and freedom still matter. This is the Lindsey Beckham Show.
Welcome back into the Lindsey Beckham Show, joined today by Miss Tonya Shellnutt. I'm very honored to have her here with us today. Now, I first met Tonya several years ago. You may remember during our legislative session when we passed the REAP Act back here, out here in the state of Mississippi, over here in the state of Mississippi, which would no longer allow gender-affirming cares to take place within our state for minors. Also wouldn't allow Medicaid or public funds to go to those sorts of procedures or hormones, things like that. Now, Alliance Defending Freedom has worked on issues such as protecting the vulnerable, religious freedom, freedom of speech, parental rights, protecting the family, God's design for marriage and the family. And Tonya, I know they've been around for over 30 years now and have a history of winning.
Right.
So I know you can't talk about the cases that are currently ongoing, but tell us what you love about working with an organization like Alliance Defending Freedom.
Sure. Well, I think before I tell you a little bit about that, I think it's always important to share the why. Obviously, I shared in the previous time a lot of my why and the wounds and putting purpose to the pain. But I have had a great grandmother, Laura, who, I didn't grow up church. I grew up in Montana, so there's more bars than churches in Montana. Okay. And my great grandmother would come stay with us often, and she would always pray. And, I would tell me stories. And one year she told me the story about the Great Depression and how all she wanted for her birthday was butter. And she was a teacher and a school principal, and then eventually went on to have a school named after her. And so when I was early on into this policy world, I was sitting in a conference or in a committee room listening to our fellow Republicans talk about why we needed Common Core. And I was like, this is not good. Like, my great grandmother would not be happy about what's happening right now. And I was at this moment of, okay, do I just ignore what I'm hearing, or do I protect the legacy that she has and stand up for what is right? I still have her Olin Mill picture on my desk at home. And you get to heaven and you think, oh, can't wait to hear what Jesus has to say. But really, I can't wait to see my great grandmother and see what she has to say about standing to protect the children and our education and parents and all of the things. And so when you look at, that's my why, is somebody went before us to protect our current freedoms. And it's so easy to bury our head in the sand and ignore it. That's easy, 100%. We can do that all day long. I did that for years. But that's not what God calls us to. We've got to live in a world of courage. And there's a way to speak truth in a courageous way that inspires others. And, that's the one thing I love about Alliance Defending Freedom and our president and CEO, Kristen Wagner. She is a courageous warrior for truth. And, it's the truth that sets us free, Lindsey. So if we're not allowed to proclaim truth and to share the truth and the wisdom of the gospel, how do we help people? If I didn't have the Lord or my faith walk and everything that I've been through, I can tell you right now, I would not be here today. I would not. Because I had no hope. I had nothing to live for. And so I'm so thankful for ADF and wanting to continue to lean into truth and to fight for truth every single day. And so that is my why. And I'm just blessed.
Absolutely. And Tonya, that's the room you were sitting in a committee surrounded by people working on policy. That is the place where it is easiest to stay quiet and not want to speak up or ruffle any feathers or rock the boat. And I'm so thankful for organizations like Alliance Defending Freedom and for people like you who are unafraid to speak the truth and stand up for what is right and have the courage to do so. Because if we just become complacent and stay silent, this country will not be here for our children anymore.
Absolutely. And I think, you are seeing more and more people stand up and be courageous. But at the end of the day, like I talked about, what's your legacy? What's your legacy going to be? That you sat silent, knowing all these harms were happening around you, and you didn't say anything? It's an atrocity. And you look at what's happened on the gender affirming care front with these children and what's happened to them. And now we're seeing WPATH come out saying, that was opinions. And it may cost you something to speak up, but you could be saving the lives of children by speaking up. It just takes that one courageous voice. And I think, Riley Gaines is a perfect example of that, right? I mean, ADF has been working on protecting women's spaces since 2016 when we saw this really coming down the pike. And we couldn't get anybody to listen to us. And then finally in 2019, we introduced a Save Women's Sports bill. The amazing Barb Ehart over there in Idaho, Representative Barb Ehart, introduced it. And now we've gone on to pass that in 27 states. Riley Gaines speaks up, people start listening. And it's just one person making an act of courage that gets other people speaking up.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times we do become complacent and we don't realize what's happening until it affects us.
Yeah.
So for me, it was my son being vaccine injured and finding out that Mississippi was one of just a handful of states, along with New Jersey and New York and California, like the most liberal states, who didn't have a religious exemption when it came to vaccines and vaccinating your children in order for them to attend school. And that wasn't okay.
Right.
And we had to change that. That had to happen because our religious rights and freedoms were being violated here in this state, which so many people believe is one of the most conservative, right here in the Bible Belt. And you have a super Republican majority. That doesn't always mean things are actually conservative. I am proud to say that what eventually went on to overturn Roe started here in the state of Mississippi with some very brave legislators who spoke out and said we can no longer allow babies to be murdered all across our country. I know ADF worked hard on that as well.
Yes, we did. We are very thankful for the lawmakers and for Mississippi leading the way on this. And we were able to assist in some of the Supreme Court work on that and, have the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So it was definitely, it goes to the importance of the legislation and the litigation going hand in glove, right? So making sure that we write the laws so that if they get to the Supreme Court, they're upheld. And when you look at like the women's privacy front, for example, there's not a lot of case law out there where, that says that women have the right to keep their sports and their spaces protected. And so that's why when we were writing the laws on the women's sports front, we were making sure that it would be written in a way that it could withstand the Supreme Court. And as you know, just recently it did. And so that's why, people are like, oh, that sounds like a really good bill. We should do it. And sure, there are great ideas about bills, but it's really, really important how we write the language, because we've got to make sure that it withstands that constitutional scrutiny and that it sets good legal precedents, right? Because you could write something and it sounds good, but then it could actually undo work that we've already done.
And that's so true. And that's something I've learned after being involved at the legislative level here in the state of Mississippi. When I couldn't get something done at the school board, I'm that person who's stubborn as all get out. And so my mindset was, well, I'll just go over your head. I'll change the laws in the state. Then you can't do what I'm asking you not to do, even if you want to go against what the parents are here voicing their concerns about. But I learned very quickly after being involved at the legislative level that you have to have teeth to something. If you want to pass legislation, it can't just be all pretty wording and sound great. It's got to have something behind it in order for it to be upheld. A lot of people don't realize that.
Sure. Right. I think a lot of times people don't like to put what we call a cause of action. And that's the teeth in a lot of these bills, and making sure that, like, for example, Florida has a really, really good parental rights bill. But what they don't have is a cause of action in their bill or in their law. So parents really have no remedy to be made whole because everybody knows that there's no cause of action. There's nothing that they can do. Thankfully, there's a really great AG and a governor down there. But, what happens when it's the next administration? And I think that's another thing, too, that people forget. Like, don't be so short-sighted to think that, oh, well, we have an executive order, so we're good. Oh, no. We have another administration coming, and we can see from COVID, we can see from the last administration, it doesn't take long to lose your freedoms at all. And so making sure that you have longstanding pieces of legislation that have the cause of action is very important.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most important things, is to not just pass something to pass it, but to make sure that you have all the language in there that gives you, like you said, a calls to action, that you can't just break the law if this bill's a law. And then what's going to happen? If there's nothing there behind it, then does it even matter if it's a law on the books? We got to take another break, but when we get back, Tonya, I want to talk about how people can find you, how they can follow you, how they can follow along with what Alliance Defending Freedom is doing, how they can find your book. I want to talk about all of those things so that people know exactly where to go. Y'all stay with us. We're going to be right back here. WYAB 103.9, The Lindsey Beckham Show. The Lindsey Beckham Show.
Keep it tuned here to 103.9 WYAB.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Hot weather requires us to run the AC nonstop. Pure Air Consultants can inspect your unit today to ensure your AC is operating at peak performance. Pure Air Consultants is your go-to Rheem partner that can get the job done and have you resting in comfort in no time. Locally owned and operated, they have proudly served our community for over 22 years. Contact Pure Air Consultants today at mypureairconsultants.com. Rheem and Pure Air Consultants to the rescue.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit americansforprosperity.org. Be a part of positive change at americansforprosperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Search and rescue continues in Colombia following the major earthquake Monday. International aid is arriving. At least 240 deaths are now confirmed. ABC's Faith Abube is in the city of Cali.
Emergency crews working around the clock in a race against time to find survivors. A woman pulled from the rubble after being trapped for 36 hours under a collapsed building. People here clinging onto these moments of hope as officials say thousands of people are still missing, including 239 believed to be trapped beneath the rubble in hard-hit Cali.
Attorney General Todd Blanche holding his first press conference since being sworn in this week, announcing the Justice Department uncovered a marriage fraud scheme involving Chinese nationals. And a total solar eclipse moving across the northern hemisphere, including Iceland, Spain, and Portugal. Here in the U.S., a partial eclipse may be visible. Scientists warn to wear protective glasses if you look to the sky. This is
Need to ship something fast, print something now, or wrap the perfect gift? Head to the Mailroom Gluckstadt, your one-stop shop for all major shipping carriers. We pack and ship with care, offer private mailbox rentals, copy services, create and print banners, print your photos, lamination, binding, and secure document shredding. We always have a notary available, and we do gift wrapping too. Head to the Mailroom Gluckstadt across from Callaway's or online at mailroomgluckstadt.com. Stop in today and get it all done in one place.
Hi, this is Mary Beth Hardy, owner of Flora Pharmacy. Flora Pharmacy is proud to be locally owned and operated. We believe in the power of community and personalized care. At Flora Pharmacy, we treat you like family. And for your convenience, we offer curbside service and prescription home delivery. Just pull up and we'll bring your prescriptions right to you. Can't make it to our store? Flora Pharmacy will drive it to your doorstep. Come see the best pharmacy in town today at Flora Pharmacy, where care meets convenience. Highway 49 in Flora.
Hello, friends and neighbors. This is David Frederick. I'm here to tell you about the latest development here at Frederick Sales and Service in Brandon. In an effort to always bring you the very best brands, I am proud to announce that Frederick Sales and Service is Central Mississippi's newest dealer for Skag zero-turn mowers and products. We have deals on one of the industry's best brands of zero-turn mowers, Skag. You can buy now and pay later because 0% financing is also available at Frederick's. Come see our inventory. We're here serving you for over 3 decades in Brandon since 1993.
Grill lovers already know about Grills of Mississippi, and so should you. Grills of Mississippi carries premium Weber grills, Yoder smokers, and outdoor kitchen accessories to take your backyard cooking to the next level. Whether you're a weekend griller or a serious pitmaster, Grills of Mississippi has the brands, the knowledge, and the service to help you do it right. Turn your backyard into the ultimate gathering spot. Visit grillsofms.com today. Grills of Mississippi, where great cooking starts. It's road trip season again. Is your vehicle ready? Take your vehicle to Green's Tire and Auto on Ridgewood Road in Ridgeland to get it in tip-top shape before you head out of town. Don't get stranded while you're away from home. Preventative maintenance is their specialty at Green's Tire and Auto. And if your check engine light is already on, then Green's Tire and Auto can tell what's wrong and get it fixed. Before you start your road trip, take your car to Green's Tire and Auto, Ridgewood Road in Ridgeland.
From Mississippi, where faith, family, and freedom still matter. This is the Lindsey Beckham Show.
Welcome back into the Lindsey Beckham Show, live here in Flora, Mississippi, the WYAB studios. We are joined by my friend Tonya over at Alliance Defending Freedom, and I'm going to let her tell you how you can follow her, find everything that she's out there doing, so many great things in the world. But I also wanted to tell you guys a little bit about Alliance Defending Freedom. Now, what I love about this legal organization is that Christ is the center. It was founded back in 1994 by 30 men who wanted to keep Christ at the center of the decisions being made in this country. And so they committed to making this organization happen in order to protect religious freedom, free speech, the sanctity of life, parental rights, and God's design for the family. And they have been so successful, winning 80% or more of their cases and over 20 Supreme Court victories now at this point. And Tonya is one of the state director, so she kind of oversees all of the policy at the state level. And Tonya, where can people go not only to find out about Alliance Defending Freedom and calls to action and things you're working on through your organization, but also personally where you're speaking, how to find your book, all the things?
Yeah, so let's start with ADF first. I always joke, everybody knows who Dr. James Dobson is, right? He wrote The Strong-Willed Children or Child for all 5 of mine. So
same for my 5.
So anyway, he's an amazing man with incredible vision. But ADF has like over 450 employees. We are international, so there's many facets to the work that we do. But folks can go to adflegal.org and sign up for updates. And then we are obviously on Twitter and all of the social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. And so you can get updates from them. And you can also follow our CEO, Kristen Wagner, WAGGONER. She always has really great posts as well. And then me personally, Tonya Shellnutt on Twitter, it's TONYA. And then www.tonyashellnutt.com is my website. And folks can order the book through Amazon. My book is called Wounded and Defined, Trading Victim for Victor. And so you're more than welcome to go onto Amazon and find that. It's a little bit about my story, my upbringing, and then just kind of how the Lord has brought me through the adversity and what I've done with it over the years. And then, we have folks that are in Mississippi. Julie Harris is one of the state government relations persons. So she's available to speak to any of the Republican women's group or any of the groups, Republican men, whatever she can speak to. And then I also am more than welcome to come down to Mississippi. I love Mississippi. I love your capital. I do speak to women's groups all the time, just about encouragement and perseverance and resiliency. I think resiliency is a lost characteristic of people today. Everyone quits before the miracle happens, and where's the goodness in that? It is not. So those would be the places that you could find us.
So you guys have no excuse out there not to be following Tonya and ADF and what they're doing, because the work is so important and it will affect future generations. I say all the time, my favorite quote that I love to use whenever I speak to groups is that if there must be trouble, let it come in my day so that my children may have peace. Thomas Paine. And it just resonates so deeply with me, because what mom wouldn't want to do everything in her power to make this world a better place for her children, leave it a better place than the way they came into it.
Oh, yes. And, Lindsay, I just am celebrating another new milestone. I have my first grandbaby 2 weeks ago, a little boy. And so I'm like looking at this little precious baby going, what are we doing? Like, we've got to make sure that we're protecting the next generation, as Ronald Reagan says, right? It's only one generation away from extinction. It has to be fought for. That's a very, one of my favorite lines from him, is making sure that we just don't quit before the miracle happens. And so even like any of your listeners that are like, I want to help, I don't know how to help. Like, I know you have tons of resources on that. And I think more than anything is just like, what do you want your legacy to be? If it's your legacy is just complacency and not doing anything, like we don't read books about complacency. We read books about overcomers. Go be one.
Right. And what you said is so true, that so many times people quit before the miracle happens. And I think that's one of the downfalls of the world we live in today, and technology and Amazon and everything that you want is right there at your fingertips. If you want it, it's there immediately. You don't have to wait on anything anymore. And I learned a long time ago to not pray for patience, because God will then show you what it's going to take to get some patience. I mean, I'm kidding, but
no, it's true. It's 100% true.
It's a virtue, and it's not my strongest suit. I'll just be honest here. But our children have learned in the world we live in today that everything you want is at your fingertips. Right. And so you're right. So many people quit before the miracle happens. And I know as well as you do, especially when you're involved in policy and legislation at a state level, things don't happen overnight.
No, goodness,
You have
no.
to fight more than a year, more than sometimes more than a decade.
Yes, 100%. It is not, sometimes it can be fast, but at the end of the day, it is something that requires just a ton of perseverance and not giving up and, emboldening others to stand for truth. And, you're not ever on the wrong side of history when you stand for truth. So why wouldn't you? Right.
Amen.
And I just think we need more people out there doing that.
Right. And absolutely more people who are out there engaging and encouraging and educating, because a lot of times I think parents wouldn't be okay with this if they knew what was happening. But we're so busy in this country, in our day-to-day life. There's so much to do and there's so much that you got to get done. And a lot of times the things that we need to be concerned with and focusing on just go by the wayside because we automatically think, oh, everybody's got my child's best interest at heart. My pediatrician, the school system, they all want what's best for my kid. And unfortunately, it's not always the case.
Absolutely. And I think too, just, you're right. A lot of people are busy. So just stay engaged. One of the things that people don't understand is that all it takes is one call to your lawmaker to just say, hey, Representative Smith, I'm really concerned about this. Can you help me with it? Because they think everybody else is talking to them, but that's not true.
Right.
If they're not hearing from the people, then they think all is well. And I would just say too, like Lindsey, if there are, lawmakers that listen to your show, like we have model bill language, we have attorneys that can testify, we have attorneys that can review any legislation that they're wanting to look at, as long as it falls in our file, as long as it falls in our practice areas. And so, we're here to be a resource, just like Moms for Liberty. We're here to help in whatever way that we can. But if you don't reach out, if you don't connect, no one knows that you need help.
Yeah. And I've had numerous legislators from the state on the show, and they all say that we don't know unless you tell us. You might think that we've heard about an issue or that we know what's going on. We might not have ever heard that this is a problem unless you call and tell us. And what I've learned here in the state of Mississippi is that 90% of them are more than willing to talk to you and listen to you and hear what you've got to say, hear you out.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys are, South Carolina is kind of in the same boat where they say, well, it's a red state, it's super conservative. And it's not always like that. Right. But it's, again, who is speaking into the lawmakers? Because I can guarantee you that the other side and the ACLU is doing it. So why are we not having people that are carrying, conservatives carrying and speaking into this issue?
I'm sure they hear from the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Oh, yeah. That's the whole thing.
Are y'all fortunate enough to be on that hate list?
We sure are. You know it. We sure are.
You've made it. You're doing something right when you get put on that hate list.
Yeah. Yeah, but they lost their way a long time ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They did. And so it's so nice to see an administration who is finally calling that out and saying, hey, this is what you guys have been doing is just not right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Tonya, we're going to take a break and then we're just going to come back to say goodbye. I'm going to let you go. I know you're super busy doing what it is that you do, getting that policy put together for not only your organization, but and also statewide, at the state level. It is so important. And lawmakers, I know there are a lot of you that listen to the show. So if you heard Tonya, they're there. They're there to help you. They're there to read through bill language, model policy. It's all out there. So if you have something that you want to work on in one of these areas, and I think they're the most important areas, of course, because that's where my heart and my passion lies, then reach out to ADF.
Or reach out to you, and then you can connect them to me. I will make sure we help them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tonya, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to come on the show. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
TonyaShellnutt.com, 2 T's. And then ADF Legal, is it .org or?
.org. Yep.
.org. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye. We're going to take our last break. Y'all stay with me. We'll be right back here to wrap things up today here on The Lindsey Beckham Show. Here to wrap things up today here on The Lindsey Beckham Show.
1039 WYAB.
When it comes to protecting all the things that matter in your world, generations of folks in central Mississippi have trusted Allstate agent Mark Dwyron. Mark knows the right coverage with the right price, helps you feel secure and protected. For decades, Mark's been a trusted agent protecting you against mayhem that is unpredictable, and he's always just a moment away when you need him. Mark Dwyron. For auto, home, life, and more, you're in good hands with Allstate. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Hot weather requires us to run the AC nonstop. Pure Air Consultants can inspect your unit today to ensure your AC is operating at peak performance. Pure Air Consultants is your go-to Rheem partner that can get the job done and have you resting in comfort in no time. Locally owned and operated, they have proudly served our community for over 22 years. Contact Pure Air Consultants today at mypureairconsultants.com. Rheem and Pure Air Consultants to the rescue.
Friday mornings at 9 is a great time to chill with us here at 103.9 WYAB. It's the Blues and Arts Hour, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi, Small Town Music, and Fusion Coffee House. I'm Chris Davis, your host. You'll hear from people who play, write, and live music from Mississippi artists and creators, and you'll also get to sample some of their work. And it's every Friday morning at 9 on 103.9 WYAB.
Are you looking for a church family to connect with? One that will provide opportunities to grow in your spiritual life, as well as a chance to serve others? First Baptist Flora may be just the place for you. We're located at 102 Jackson Street in Flora. To worship with us in person, we have a traditional worship service that begins Sunday mornings at 8:30. Then our life groups meet at 9:45, and the Refuge Contemporary service begins at 11 a.m. We also have a midweek service every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. So come join us at First Baptist Flora, where we're making much of Jesus.
Need equipment that works as hard as you do? Come see me, Noah Sullivan, at H&H Chief Sales in Carthage. Thousands of you have already made the short drive to see us at H&H for the state's best deals on CM truck beds, Big Tex trailers, Wells Fargo enclosed trailers, and even rugged Candy electric utility vehicles. At H&H, our equipment is built for the farm, job site, hunting camp, or anywhere around your property. So visit me, Noah Sullivan, at H&H Chief Sales on Highway 35 North in Carthage, or online anytime at hhchiefsales.com.
Hey Flora, the farm store in Flora, fresh from the farm right here. The farm store in Flora, organic, local, clear. Locally sourced meats and vegetables too. Fresh produce every day, picked just for you. The farm store in Flora, fresh from the farm right here. The farm store in Flora, come see what's fresh today.
Want insider tips on foundation repair, maintenance, and how to protect your biggest investment? Todd Sandridge, owner of Superior Foundation Services, will be dropping in this month for quick interviews with your favorite local hosts. Whether you're dealing with cracks, settling, or just want peace of mind, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Superior Foundation Services, helping you stay on solid ground. Find them online at superior.ms. That's superior.ms.
Sun coming up over New York City.
The last few minutes of the Lindsey Beckham Show here. Sorry, had my mic turned down. Welcome into the last few moments of the show today. Again, I want to thank Tonya from Alliance Defending Freedom. That's Tonya Shellnutt with 2 T's, 2 L's and 2 T's.com. And then adflegal.org. Of course, they work alongside Moms for Liberty on so many parental rights issues. And then protecting our young, our most vulnerable, saving women's sports, all the things that you hear me talk about all the time that I'm so passionate about. Alliance Defending Freedom has been right there fighting so hard for these issues every step of the way, all the way up to the Supreme Court level. And they have been so consistent in fighting these issues and so successful as well. So we appreciate everything they do. Again, one of the things that I love so much about this organization is that they keep Christ at the center, and they focus on what God's will for this country would be. The Judeo-Christian values that our country was founded on. That is what they fight for. And so I'm honored that Tonya was able to come on and talk with us today and share her heart, some of her personal story. And again, I think it's so important that we don't lay down in an ocean of victimhood when something goes wrong in our life. Turn that into being the victor. Turn your thoughts of being a victim into overcoming something out there in the world, changing something out there in the world that's going to affect future generations. Leave a legacy worth remembering. I think if anything, that was the most important thing that Tonya said to us today is, what do you want your legacy to be? When people think about you after you're gone from this earth, and that's the one common denominator we all have. Everybody's going to die. Everybody who's ever been born and lived is going to die or has died. What do you want people to remember you for? What do you want your children to remember you for as a parent? What will your legacy be? And when you think about that and you aren't happy with what comes to mind, then change it. You have the power to do that, and you have the power to change the world, or at least your corner of it. So what are you waiting for? Make a legacy worth remembering. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. See you then. Bye.